Welcome to another episode of Keep Africa Trading, TradeMark Africa's podcast, where we explore the innovations, policies, and partnerships seeding trade across the African continent. I'm your host, Moses Kemibaro, and today we are live at the Africa Trade Development Forum 2024 in Kigali, Rwanda. This year's theme is Digital Trade, which underscores the transformative potential of technology in connecting markets across the continent, fostering inclusion, and also empowering Africa's economic future. Our guest today brings unique insights about how Africa is harnessing digital tools to redefine its trade landscape. Karibu sana, Njoki.
Asante sana.
So, Njoki, maybe you can briefly introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do at TradeMark, and then we can take it from there.
Sure, thanks. My name is Njoki Mungai, and I lead on program delivery at TradeMark Africa. And what that means is how we bring all of our building blocks at organizational level to show up to deliver our strategy. And so the department that I head is looking at breathing life into our strategy through our projects and our programs to deliver across the continent.
Fantastic. As I understand it, you focus primarily on the youth and technology, that intersection. Can you give us some perspective around that in particular? And maybe when you think back maybe 5 years, probably pre-COVID, post-COVID, how digital transformation has changed that particular scenario?
I think I'll even go further than 10 years. And when I got into the trade facilitation space around 2004, we're in Kigali right now. So the world was very different. East Africa was very different. And everything was paper-based. Everything was moving around. It meant walking around with your documents from one office to the next, and it was quite stressful. And so the environment was significantly different from what it is right now. And I look at young people now, and those are stories that they probably cannot relate with. And yet, all of the things that we're doing is supposed to make their lives better. It's supposed to harness them to be part of the economy that we're trying to build in the continent. And so to the extent that we can paint that picture, show how far we've come, but then how much further we have to go, that is what this week is about. And transformation really is about people. And it's about creating the environment that helps them to plug in. And so when you think about young people, about youth, and the evolution of their engagement in trade, it's quite fascinating. And specific to Rwanda, I can talk about one intervention that we're working with the MasterCard Foundation. And it's really looking at a value-added initiative to boost employment. What's that? Vibe is targeting youth. Solutions that are made for youth, developed by youth, and delivered for them. And so youth cannot be divorced from the context of trade, and that's why this is very important.
So the focus of this particular forum is, digital trade. And in the context of the ecosystem across Africa, what are your thoughts around that and how it intersects with Africa's economic transformation?
That's a really good question. And what comes to mind is, as I've said, things have changed, but have they changed equally? Have they carried people equally? And I think that's a question for us to answer. And for us at TradeMark, it's something that we grapple with every day. And we've had instances where when we pause and reflect, we think, okay, so big businesses, international businesses have benefited from trade facilitation. But to what extent has that been inclusive? And so when we think about the conversations that we're having this week on transformation, on the tools that we need to develop, and homegrown solutions that respond to the very needs of the people, our people, I think it's quite pertinent.
So one of the things that I think is so interesting, and somebody who's been an entrepreneur like myself for many years, is sometimes actually feels easier to transact with an international organization in trade than it is, let's say, to transact with somebody in Malawi. And I'm just wondering, when you look at it from that point of view, how do you see digital trade starting to sort of close that gap that seems to have existed for as long as I can remember?
Yeah. So I think about primary school, and we used to talk about trade, barter trade, exchange of goods. But then the older you get, the more complex trade becomes. And you're right, moving goods across countries has not been easy. It's gotten better over the years, but it could be even more transformative. So things like e-commerce, the world of today is digital. We're moving with the world in our hands, on our phones. So if we really want to tap into the potential of tech, into the potential to be really transformative, it's really about digital, digital, digital. But how do you bridge that? So it's not just about the phones, the tablets, it's about the people that are using them, and all people. So not just the ones that can afford the smartphones, anybody that can access anything that can link you to the next person, that's a potential for trade. So I think platforms that really are looking into e-commerce for cross-border trade are transformative. And another one of the initiatives that we have at TradeMark, the iSOKO platform, which is really built to connect women traders, but broader than that, looking at how we can move our goods and sell them to whoever is willing to buy them at the right price. And so I think initiatives like those are what is really going to be transformative for us. That yes, if I want to sell something to someone sitting in Nigeria, I should be able to do that. But it is more than digital, and that is why even in the conversations that we've been having this morning, it's about the policy framework, it's about the regulatory framework, it's about interoperability, it's about connectivity. And to the extent that we can simplify things, that is a solution that we are seeking to find.
So often when we think about youth, we think about a mobile-first generation. In fact, they call them now the TikTok generation.
Right.
Many of them expect things to work on their mobile device. I know sometimes when you think about the rural populations, the more underserved, maybe they can't even afford smartphones. And there's this opportunity that exists, obviously, but there's also this potential for the underserved to participate in these areas. What are your thoughts around digital literacy and how that can also empower those maybe in the rural and peri-urban aspects of our cities and towns in Africa to participate in these sort of cross-border transactions through digital trade?
Another good question. I think youth is a big word, and youth can mean anything to anybody. I can consider myself youth if I compare myself to the generations that came before me. And so it's not homogeneous. And you're right, when you think about youth, young people, you think about capital cities like Kigali, like Nairobi,
Correct.
like Dar es Salaam. But it's so much broader than that. And I'll share a story. A few months ago, I was here in Rwanda, in one of the secondary cities in the country. And I was able to interact with a young lady that's just started in business. So I was able to see an ad online to participate in the program that I was talking about. And because she has her phone, she was able to make the application, is now has set up a business, is employing people, and is exporting.
Wow.
That's a lady that's under 25 years. And so we have to think broader. And as I said, it isn't just about the people that have access, it's linking every single person. And when you talk to youth, they will tell you what they want. They will tell you how they want it. And so to the extent that we can bridge that gap, whether it is skilling, whether it is access to information, we have to listen first, and then we have to develop the tools with them, co-create with them, because we're not doing it for them. We have to do it with them in partnership.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you on that. Now, when you start to sort of look out a bit further, maybe the next 5 to 10 years, how do you see digital trade evolving? And more specifically, when you look at the youth segment and how that might actually impact the way that trade is done across Africa through digital trade?
I think it's a lot more of what we're already seeing. There's something nearly magical that's happening, including in Rwanda. And another young lady that I met is already exporting to Tanzania, to Ghana from Kigali. And the product that she's dealing in is something that Rwanda is known for. It's peppers, it's chilies. And so for entrepreneurs like that, what we want to see is people creating wealth, people creating business, people being able to employ their peers and then the generations that are coming. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see a huge growth. If the conditions that are here with us now, if we take advantage of them, if we create the enabling environment, then I don't see why youth will not plug into trade. I don't see why there won't be the answer that we are looking for in all our different spaces and countries. And so what I see is an interconnected region and more people being able to plug in on their own terms.
So based on what we've discussed so far, what lessons do you think the global trade community can learn from Africa's digital trade journey? Again, looking at the unique nuances and aspects of what we do within the continent, and then how does that relate to the rest of the world?
I think what we can learn from Africa is our culture is about community. And community is about inclusion. It's about doing the best for the least of us. So are we moving at a pace where everybody is able to get on the bus? I think that is what we have to offer, and it's what we have to practice, so that as we move forward, we don't move so fast that we're leaving people behind. But even if we do move too fast, do we leave a trail that they can then follow? I think for me, that is intrinsic to our culture, that is cross-cutting from north to south and Africa east to west.
Great. And as we come to the end of our conversation, I just have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So what drives your passion for working in this space, and what's your personal vision for what digital trade can become across the continent?
I think I draw my inspiration from my own family. So again, for very many Africans, you can always trail back your background to whether it's agriculture or business or entrepreneurship. And so for me, family is everything. Why do I do it? I have 4 kids. I want to be able to create a world in which they can thrive.
Fantastic.
That you can empower them, expose them, invest in them, but then not be worried that when you're no longer here, you know that what you've left behind is something formidable. And so for me, that's quite inspiring. And then the secondary thing for me is the people that I meet every day, the people that I met 20 years ago when I started in this space. Every day, there's a story behind every single person that you meet. And so to the extent that you're able to plug into to their world, into their space, that is what gives us meaning. And I think TradeMark has been a really great vehicle for breathing life into policy, into ideas, and into innovation.
Fantastic. And maybe the last question would be, is there anything you'd like the audience to hear or know that would be quite relevant around digital trade and things that you think maybe would be important for them to appreciate?
I think perhaps for the generation that is at the helm right now is that digital is not the big bad. It's not the big bad wolf. I think it is the big opportunity of our generation, and we shouldn't waste it. We shouldn't squander it, not just for ourselves, but for the people that are coming behind us.
Thank you so much, Njoki. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what else you're going to accomplish in the next few years.
Thank you for having me. All right.
So there you've heard it from Njoki, joining us at the Africa Trade Development Forum. Incredible insights around all these things that are possible through digital trade on a continental basis, within our markets, within our countries, cross-border, but more importantly, enabling through technology and also empowering the youth to achieve opportunities made possible through digital trade. We'll catch you in the next episode of Keep Africa Trading once again. Thank you.